Shoulder pain can affect every one of us, that we know. But were you aware that most shoulder pain is unintentionally self-inflicted? In our everyday lives, we make so-called mistakes without even noticing.
As a doctor with over 40 years of experience and Roland as a pain specialist, you also have about 35 years of experience for sure. We often observe this, questioning where these shoulder pains might originate from. And what I've also noticed is that it feels like it's happening more and more often.
Absolutely, I can confirm that. And that's why it's so important for you to understand these 4 mistakes now, so you can make the necessary changes, so that you can either reduce the shoulder pain you already have or avoid getting it at all.
The initial mistake lies in the fact that most people are unaware of how shoulder pain actually develops. Roland, please take a moment to explain.
Sure, the way we see it, it's quite simple. Most people in everyday life tend to keep their arms mostly in front of them. At an angle of about 45 degrees, this is very, very important. Later, it will help to balance things out. And what happens there? All around here, around the shoulder, are muscles, including the large pectoral muscle. It extends from here to here across the chest on both sides. And muscles and fascia have a tendency to shorten, especially if they are frequently kept in a shortened state in everyday life. Exactly. And then they're tense. Over time, this creates more and more pressure. And the muscles at the back can no longer compensate for that. Then, along with shoulder pain, you get poor posture and so on. And the moment the body realizes there's too much tension in the front and the back can't compensate, it sends pain signals. You may be aware of them. We have named it alarm pain, which is meant to signal that something is amiss within the body, particularly that there is an issue with the shoulder region. And we interpret that as the body's language and respond with appropriate countermeasures.
Now you might be wondering, why do we always have our arms in the front, up here? It's really quite simple. When we eat, we lift our arms up here, the same when we are writing or when we are on the keyboard. We always have our arms up in front of us. Yes, exactly, always moving in the front. Everything is focused on the front. Exactly.
And when you are sitting down and try to reach something behind you, many people just don't do this movement anymore. They just turn. They just turn and grab it in front of them. The same when you try to reach forward into the refrigerator. Showing mistake number 2, not moving the arms backward, not upward backward, not horizontally backward, and not downward either. This is essential as it compensates for what shortens when arms stay forward. What's too short needs to give way, allowing balance, and that's part of training. Sometimes this happens by chance when someone, for example, in sports like javelin throwing, the athlete makes swinging movements backward and then comes forward. And something like that can help balance out the constant forward motion. The problem is, most people don't know this and are practically dependent on random movements that happen by chance in everyday life. And that's exactly what needs to be changed so that it doesn't lead to everything getting more tense and eventually not being able to lift the arm properly. That's tingles at night while sleeping and all the other things that happen with a shoulder that becomes increasingly tense.
That's a common reason for mistake number 3. Many individuals tend to sleep on their side with their arm positioned underneath them, which can lead to discomfort and tension building up in their shoulder as time progresses. If you often sleep on your side, it's a good practice to keep your arm raised rather than under your body to prevent discomfort. However, that's not very easy for most people.
And why? Because it's shortened again. That's also why many people, by the way, can no longer raise their hand properly when voting. Many older people vote that way. You always wonder why? Because it just doesn't work anymore. Why doesn't it work? Because it's done too rarely, and that's what gets balanced out. Have you noticed how these complex connections work? Once they are properly understood, managing them becomes quite straightforward and simple. And since we were just talking about sleep, we recommend sleeping on your back. And keep your arms relaxed by your sides or in a natural position like this, or perhaps like that, and then gently rest them. This way you can actually perform a little exercise for the shoulders even while you are asleep. I love that anyway, because it doesn't take any extra time. It just has to be that the stretching intensity is so low that you can easily fall asleep and stay asleep. Or you sleep on your stomach, also quite suitable. We consider it the second best sleeping position. And in the prone position, you can place your arms like this or a bit higher. Make absolutely sure that the stretching intensity is kept low enough so that you can enjoy a good night's sleep.
Yeah, and mistake number 4 is, of course, the mistake of not doing any exercises. And we're changing that right now because we're going to show you the corresponding exercise for it.
And it arises from what I have previously explained, but again, for your comprehension. You need to understand you have a certain daily routine with specific movements you make or don't make. And this leads to shoulder pain. This means you're missing certain ranges of motion. We talked about movements to the back, upwards, and so on. And incorporating these angles, so to speak, into your everyday movements, that's what we are doing with these exercises. If you incorporate the exercise specifically for that, your daily life will change into a day from which, in our experience, shoulder pain will have vanished. And now we'll show you the best exercise you can do against it. I'll demonstrate for the right shoulder, and Peter will show it for the left shoulder. You just move towards the wall in such a way that your corresponding shoulder makes contact with the wall. You begin at that specific angle and aim to reach a full 45 degrees, ensuring your shoulder stays very close to the wall to properly maintain alignment and stability throughout the whole exercise. You might be asking, why 45 degrees? The answer is simple. It's exactly the counter angle to the shortened position you take when sitting at a table, eating, or working on a keyboard. At this point, you'll begin to notice that the closer your shoulder is towards the wall, the more you feel it pulling. And then you adjust the pull, this stretch, so that it's just still comfortably bearable. If you notice that you can take on more stretch comfortably, then gently turn your head to the opposite side and start to slowly rotate your body in the direction away from the arm being stretched. You gradually start to feel how the stretch is really intensifying more and more. Keep on holding this position steady for about 1 whole minute. Gradually increase it so that it's just tolerable. And after about a minute, you begin. Now we move forward to specific strength training. You will press your hand firmly against the wall, making sure the rest of your entire body remains completely still. And then you release once again. After letting go, you'll notice that you're able to push yourself a little bit further into the stretch. You'll want to repeat that whole process a few more times until those complete 2 minutes are finished. This is the exercise that specifically helps to stretch either side of your body. You can also use the door frame for this particular stretch. Imagine there's a door in front of you, then place your arms into this frame, securely holding onto the corners, and steadily push the upper area of your sternum further and deeper into the stretch to intensify it. You will really feel the stretch on both sides, which saves you time if you're lucky enough to have that particular option. And you have a corner in your apartment that's free. Often there's some piece of furniture there, but I always say it's worth moving that furniture away so you have a free training corner. Ultimately, that's your decision. Then you can follow what Petra shows you. Begin by positioning yourself at that angle and slowly work towards achieving 45 degrees, as this is considered the most effective angle for significantly alleviating shoulder pain and enhancing overall mobility. We know this from long experience. A quick note for you. On Sunday, the 22nd, in September at 11 o'clock, our big autumn training takes place. And in it, we free the whole body from its pains. Click on the link just below the video and make sure to turn on notifications so you won't miss out on this important training. So many people have problems with shoulder pain, shoulder issues, with stiff shoulders that they can't move well. Share this video with all these people, including those you know who prefer to sleep on their side. Or they just don't move enough, particularly not into those specific angles.
Or they don't know at all that they're making such a mistake, as we just pointed out. And you can be absolutely certain they'll really appreciate it and thank you because you're providing them with valuable help.